Hey team, welcome to the weekly Q&A. The first question on the list is developing alignment with people around you. I would suggest reading the person. So look at their body language, try and make a decision on sort of how they're feeling, and then build the connection around that. Don't have like a script or a premeditated thing that you're going to say to someone to build connection. They look a little bit flat. Do your best to maybe ask them what's going on, try and lift their energy levels up. That's sort of how you build connection. Rather than if you see they're a little low and you come in telling them all about how good everything is going for you, then they're not going to relate. You're not going to connect too well. So try and read the person first. If they're super happy, try and bring that energy to them. And yeah, you can talk about all the things that are going great. So read the person first and then base what you're going to say or the conversation, that connection, off what you've actually read from that person. Second one, letting go of other people's results and comparing myself to others, particularly as we come to the open. So comparing ourselves to others is like a very common thing on social media. We're always comparing, we're always looking, we're always judging. So I guess the less you can do that through your daily life, the probably less you'll do it when it comes to doing your workouts and comparing on a leaderboard. So it's not just then, but just try and pick it up. Try and pick up when you're doing it more often, and try and change that story. Try and be less judgmental. Try and be not as hard on yourself. So you can always compare, but the way I compare is I look for things that I could do better, that maybe I'm not doing. So I try and get the learnings from it rather than judging or putting myself down. So give yourself a little bit of space, a little bit of room to, I guess, don't be so hard on yourself and rather look at people to learn rather than to put yourself down. So that'd be the change there. Number three, keeping my cool once the timer starts. Whenever I time a workout, I seem to lose my head almost straight away. So you just got to look at, I guess, the connection or the story you have to do with the clock. Obviously, whenever you look at the clock or you hear that countdown, there's like pressure and I guess probably a lot of adrenaline attached to that feeling, that situation. So you've got sort of like an anchor there based on the clock. So try and change that story a little bit. Try and say whenever I hear that clock ticking down or see that clock, that's my cue to execute on my plan. That's my cue to attack this workout calm and exactly how I want it to, rather than just letting that normal subconscious programming take over that normal story. Try and change that story to something different that you are going to execute, that you are going to be calm, that you are going to do exactly what you planned out to do. So you actually have to have a plan. You have to think through that process and have some intention behind it. Otherwise, if you start the clock, you're just going to go back to that normal way of feeling that you do. So try and have some intention. Think about that process when you go into that next time. Something that might be an issue for lots of people: end of year events, weddings, birthdays, grand final events, etc., affecting recovery and training for the next week. Okay, so if you've got events, weddings, birthdays, grand final days, whatever they are, you just got to weigh up the importance of that event compared to your training. So if you've got, say, a competition coming up that's really important to you, you really want to do well, and you want to have a really positive experience and not leave any stones unturned, then you would probably not drink alcohol and make sure you're eating well and all of that at the party or whatever the event was. But if you don't really have anything coming up, and if you know that you're going to have 1 or 2 bad days of training or not ideal days of training for the result of maybe having a few drinks with your friends and family and all of that, then you just got to weigh up that, do you want that really good experience and just sort of letting go and not worrying too much about these couple of days that you're going to miss out on? So you just got to weigh that up. What do you want? What results do you want? And then make that decision based on that. Rather than just getting into that moment and then like questioning what you're doing and saying, oh, this is going to affect my training. Again, creating some intention behind it, planning it out, having a little bit of a think about what means more to you, and then go and do that. So For me personally, I don't mind, having some cake and having a couple of drinks and in a social event. Like, I know it's not really going to affect my couple of days of training. I know during the week I'll get back onto a good routine. So it's not like I'm really affecting myself too much or really affecting my results. So I don't stress about it. I just know that, get back on the into my routine and everything will be fine. So just weigh up what is important to you and what your goals are and what's coming up. So it'll be different at different times of the year and different stages depending on what you've got on. Warm up. How long should you spend on warming up? Sometimes my body feels great and I skip some of the warm up only because I'm really keen to get started. But I know it's important. So with your warm up, yeah, do exactly that. Warm up enough so you feel like you're ready to do what you're just about to do. So if you're just about to do some lifting, making sure that your hips and everything feels good. If everything's like tight and you're struggling to hit the range of motion and all of that, put the extra time into the warm up to make sure that you feel good for what you're about to do. So if those days that your body feels great and you want to get straight into it, that's fine. Just make sure you, say if it is lifting, that you do some lighter sets and work your way up so your body is ready for it. So yeah, I wouldn't stress too much about it. Sounds like what you're already doing is working and it is good. Next one, I'm signing up for a half marathon trail run. Do you think I need to do any additional runs and training? Yes, I do think you need to do some more running. Definitely put some more time on your feet, once or twice a week. So just accumulate time on your feet. Don't really have to like track how fast you're running or all of that. If the goal is just to complete it and get through it, then that's all you need to do. If you're trying to set a record or win the comp, it's a completely different thing. But if you're doing a half marathon, maybe do like a 40-minute run on the weekend and then increase it to an hour and do some longer runs so your body's used to it. And just if you've got quite a bit of time, which I think you said you're doing it in a couple of months, just build up to it and the next day see how you pull up. If you pulled up pretty average, then make sure you do the recovery work, dial it back just that little bit and sort of keep hitting that same time frame until your body starts to adapt a little bit better. Then increase that time. Might be half an hour. You pulled up a little bit sore. So the next week you do the recovery stuff. Do another half an hour. See how you pull up. And then if you've pulled up really well, you can increase to 45 minutes and just sort of try and build up from there. So you get time on your feet. The next one, getting frustrated with technical movements in workouts on days they're just not feeling good. Handstand walking, ring muscle ups on certain days. So they're skills, they're things that you need to just practice. There's no point in getting frustrated because when you're frustrated in that mindset, you've got no control. You're not really thinking through what do I need to do to change? What can I learn from this? You're thinking, just in a mindset where you don't know what's wrong and you're getting frustrated, you're upset with yourself. You just need to give yourself a little bit of space to think and think clearly, be positive about it, see the learning experiences from it, and try and look at other areas that you do get frustrated and try and carry that across. It's probably a reoccurring thing, not just in your workout. So try and always view things as a learning experience, as something to grow from and figure out what you could do better. But those two specifically, just keep practicing. Keep practicing, time on your hands for the handstand walking, do some EMOMs with your ring muscle ups, video yourself. Just keep putting the time, energy, and effort into it. But just take small steps. Small steps so you're getting those little wins and building momentum. Don't try and go from a level 2 to a level 5. Go from a level 2 to a level 3. Just small steps so you build momentum so you can eventually get there. Otherwise, if you try and aim too high, you're just going to stop yourself because you're going to continue to get frustrated and you're going to think it's too far out of reach for you. So small steps. The last one, specific recovery strategies for whatever 20.1 is to recover fast for potential redo. So I don't know what it is, but think about if it's a really short workout, spend a lot more time on a bike or rower because if it's short, it's going to be fast. It's going to be a lot of lactic buildup. So spend 15 minutes on a bike or a rower just to flush everything out. And if you feel like if there was a lot of squatting or whatever, roll out your quads, target those muscle groups that really got taxed, but just keep moving, like do some recovery stuff on a rower or a bike. If it's a longer one, like say a 20-minute AMRAP, it's more likely going to need less of that recovery after the workout, less of a flush out. You could probably just stick with the same protocol, like sort of 10 to 15 minutes, just flushing. But those longer workouts, you don't need it as much, but still do it. And again, target those muscle groups that really got taxed. If it was really shoulder heavy, make sure you roll out shoulders and do the body work that you need to on those muscle groups. And in terms of like icing and all of that, I don't think it really makes a difference. The only thing that makes a difference is getting your body temperature down. That's what I found personally. So getting something cold on the back of my neck, or at the games, I would normally only do an ice bath at the games because it is hot. I'm trying to get my body temperature down, and that allows me to recover better. And also mentally recovering. So after the workout, like thinking positively about it and thinking like calming your mind and not saying how bad it was and all of that. So really calming yourself down and getting back to a level where you feel recovered mentally. It hasn't like just dragged on for an hour or 2 hours, like how hard it was. Like just mentally bring yourself back down and feel like you're strong and ready to go again as soon as possible. It's going to speed up your recovery and you'll be more willing to do that redo. There are all the questions. Any more questions, just let me know. And see you next week.